Emily pushed her cleaning cart down the busy sidewalk, dodging hurried pedestrians and cars honking in traffic. At 35, she worked long hours scrubbing floors and emptying trash bins at shops and offices just to keep her family afloat. Her husband, Jake, had been out of work since his accident last year, and their 2 kids needed school supplies and uniforms they could barely afford. Every day was a battle for Emily. She woke up early, worked late, and still worried about how to pay the bills. But despite her hardships, she never complained. She believed in doing her best no matter how small the task. That afternoon, as Emily swept debris near the entrance of a small cafe, something caught her eye. An elderly woman stood alone on the crowded sidewalk, looking lost and disoriented. Her face was pale, her hands trembled slightly, and she clutched her handbag tightly. Emily hesitated for a moment, then approached her gently. "Ma'am, are you okay? Do you need help?" The woman blinked, startled, then nodded weakly. I think I got turned around. I don't remember where my car is." Emily smiled warmly. "Don't worry. Let's sit you down for a bit while we figure it out." She guided the woman to a nearby bench and fetched her a bottle of water from a convenience store across the street. "Thank you," the woman said softly, sipping the water. "You're very kind." "It's nothing," Emily replied modestly. "Everyone needs help sometimes." As they talked, Emily learned the woman's name was Margaret. Though polite, Margaret didn't reveal much about herself, instead focusing on thanking Emily repeatedly. When a taxi arrived to take Margaret home, arranged by Emily using directions Margaret remembered, the elderly woman gave Emily one last grateful smile. "You've done more for me today than you realize," she said cryptically before leaving. Little did Emily know, this simple act of kindness would change her life forever. As Emily watched the taxi drive away, she felt a small sense of satisfaction. Helping Margaret had taken only a few minutes, but it reminded her of something important, that even in her own struggles, she could still make a difference. Back at work, Emily returned to mopping floors and emptying trash bins. She didn't think much about Margaret after that. There was too much to focus on. Her boss was strict about finishing tasks quickly, and she still had hours of work ahead of her. Meanwhile, Margaret sat quietly in the taxi, lost in thought. She couldn't stop thinking about Emily, the kind cleaner who had stopped everything to help her without expecting anything in return. It wasn't just the act itself that moved her. It was the sincerity behind it. When Margaret arrived home, a sprawling estate tucked away from the city, she sighed deeply. For years, she had lived a quiet life, avoiding public attention despite her wealth. Her billions came with responsibility, but lately, she had felt disconnected from the world. Meeting Emily had awakened something inside her, a reminder of the goodness that still existed in people. The next day, Margaret decided to learn more about Emily. Using connections and resources, she discovered details about Emily's life, her husband's accident, her children's schooling challenges, and her exhausting schedule just to keep her family afloat. Margaret was deeply moved. Here was someone who had so little yet gave so freely. She knew she had to do something to repay Emily, not with flashy gifts or direct handouts, but with opportunities that would truly change her life. First, Margaret arranged for anonymous scholarships for Emily's children, ensuring they wouldn't have to worry about school fees again. Then, she set up financial aid to cover Jake's medical bills, knowing how much stress that must have caused Emily. Finally, she contacted local organizations to enroll Emily in training programs that would help her advance her skills and find better-paying jobs. All of this happened behind the scenes without Emily knowing who was responsible or why. For Emily, life continued as usual. One morning, she received a letter saying her kids' scholarships were approved. Another day, she got a call from the hospital confirming their outstanding bills had been paid. At first, she thought it was some kind of mistake. Who would do this? Emily wondered aloud, holding the letters in her hands. And why? Her husband, Jake, tried to reassure her. Maybe it's just good luck, he said, though he sounded unsure himself. Emily wasn't convinced. Deep down, she suspected there was more to these blessings, but she had no idea where they were coming from. Little did she know, Margaret was watching from afar, waiting for the right moment to reveal herself. Emily's life began to change in small but meaningful ways. The scholarships for her children lifted a huge weight off her shoulders, and the financial aid for Jake's medical bills gave her peace of mind she hadn't felt in years. For the first time in a long while, she could breathe a little easier. Still, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that something, or someone, was behind these blessings. She asked around at work, wondering if her boss or coworkers knew anything, but no one had answers. Maybe it's just good fortune, Jake suggested one evening as they sat together at the kitchen table. You've worked so hard, Em. Maybe the universe is finally giving you a break. Emily smiled faintly but didn't respond. She wanted to believe him, but something about the timing felt too deliberate. It was almost as if someone had been watching her, noticing her struggles, and decided to step in. Despite her curiosity, Emily focused on making the most of the opportunities she'd been given. She enrolled in a training program recommended by a local organization, learning new skills that could help her advance her career. Though balancing work, classes, and family wasn't easy, Emily tackled every challenge with determination. Meanwhile, Margaret kept tabs on Emily from afar. She visited the places where Emily worked and studied, always staying out of sight. Seeing Emily's resilience and gratitude only deepened Margaret's admiration for her. She deserves every bit of this, Margaret thought to herself one day as she watched Emily leave a class early to pick up her kids from school. Margaret also noticed how Emily carried herself, with quiet strength and kindness. Even when life got tough, Emily never lost her ability to care for others. At the mall where she cleaned, she often helped customers find their way or picked up items they dropped without expecting thanks. One afternoon, as Emily helped an elderly shopper carry groceries to her car, Margaret realized it was time. She couldn't stay anonymous forever, not when Emily's humility and selflessness continued to inspire her daily. Margaret decided to arrange a meeting, a chance to thank Emily personally and explain why she had chosen to help her. For Emily, however, life still felt like a mystery. Every blessing brought gratitude but also questions. Who was behind all of this? And why had they chosen her? Little did she know the answer would come soon, and it would change everything she thought she knew. One crisp morning, Emily arrived at the mall to start her shift. As she pushed her cleaning cart toward the food court, a well-dressed woman approached her. At first, Emily didn't recognize her, until the woman smiled warmly. "Emily?" the woman said gently. "Do you remember me?" Took a moment, but then it clicked. "Margaret? From the busy road." "Yes," Margaret replied, her eyes soft with gratitude. "I wanted to thank you properly, for everything you did that day." Emily shook her head modestly. "I just helped you find your way. It wasn't a big deal." "It was to me," Margaret insisted. "You reminded me of what truly matters. Kindness, compassion, and helping others without expecting anything in return." Emily frowned slightly, confused. "What do you mean?" Margaret hesitated, then decided to be honest. "Emily, I'm not just an ordinary woman. My name is Margaret Whitmore." Emily's eyes widened. She had heard the name before. Margaret Whitmore was one of the wealthiest philanthropists in the country. "I've been watching you from afar," Margaret continued. "Your kindness inspired me to give back. Not just to you, but to others like you who are struggling. I arranged the scholarships for your children, covered your husband's medical bills, and set up the training programs you're attending. I wanted to repay your kindness, not with money directly, but with opportunities to help you build a better future." Emily was speechless. Tears welled up in her eyes as she processed what Margaret was saying. "Why would you do all this for me?" "Because you deserve it," Margaret replied firmly. "You gave me hope that day, Emily. You showed me there's still goodness in the world. Now, let me help you shine even brighter." Emily swallowed hard, overwhelmed by emotion. "I don't know what to say. Thank you doesn't feel like enough." "You don't have to say anything," Margaret said kindly. "Just keep being the amazing person you are. And if you ever need anything, if there's any way I can support you further, please let me know." For a moment, they stood in silence, the weight of Margaret's generosity sinking in. Finally, Emily nodded. Thank you for everything. As Margaret walked away, Emily felt a mix of gratitude and determination. This was more than just help. It was a chance to create a better life for herself and her family. Little did she know, this was only the beginning of a journey that would inspire countless others. With Margaret's support, Emily's life began to transform in ways she never imagined. The training programs gave her new skills, and soon she was offered a promotion at work, moving from cleaning duties to a supervisory role overseeing maintenance teams. It wasn't glamorous, but it came with better pay and more stability for her family. Her children thrived too. With their scholarships secured, they no longer worried about school fees, and Emily noticed how much happier and more confident they seemed. Jake's health improved thanks to consistent medical care, and he started taking on small tasks around the house again, easing some of Emily's burdens. One evening, as Emily sat at the kitchen table reviewing schedules for her new job, Jake placed a hand on her shoulder. "You've worked so hard for this," he said softly. "I'm proud of you, Em." Emily smiled, feeling a warmth she hadn't felt in years. "We did it together, and I couldn't have done any of this without whoever helped us." Though Margaret remained involved in Emily's life, she preferred staying behind the scenes, letting Emily take ownership of her success. Occasionally, she'd visit Emily at the mall or send encouraging notes through mutual contacts, always reminding her that kindness creates ripples far beyond what we see. At work, Emily became known for her dedication and leadership. She encouraged her team to take pride in their jobs, often sharing stories of how small acts of kindness, like helping someone find their car or cleaning up a mess unnoticed, could make a big difference. Her coworkers admired her positivity and began following her example. One day, while training a new employee, Emily shared her own story. "Life gets tough sometimes," she said, "but if you stay kind and keep working hard, good things will come your way. Trust me. I've seen it happen." The new employee nodded, inspired by Emily's words. Little did Emily know, her journey was inspiring others, not just her coworkers, but people Margaret introduced her to through community events and charity programs. Each person she touched carried her story forward, spreading the message of gratitude and resilience. As Emily looked back on how far she'd come, she realized something important. Margaret's help hadn't just changed her life, it had given her the tools to change others' lives too. Months later, Margaret invited Emily to a special event, a gathering of local leaders and community members dedicated to uplifting struggling families. The venue was a beautiful community center filled with warm lighting, fresh flowers, and tables set up for discussions about education, healthcare, and employment opportunities. Emily arrived nervously, unsure of what to expect. But as soon as she walked in, Margaret greeted her with a hug. "Emily, I'm so glad you're here," Margaret said warmly. "Tonight is about celebrating people like you, those who inspire others through their kindness and resilience." Throughout the evening, Emily listened as Margaret spoke passionately about the importance of helping others. She shared Emily's story without revealing too many personal details, focusing instead on how one act of compassion could spark monumental change. "You may not realize it," Margaret told the audience, "but small gestures can have a ripple effect. When someone shows kindness, it inspires others to do the same." That's what Emily has done. Not just for me, but for everyone she meets. The room erupted into applause, and Emily blushed, humbled by the praise. Afterward, Margaret pulled Emily aside for a quiet moment. "I wanted you to see this," Margaret said, gesturing to the crowd mingling nearby. "These are people inspired by your journey. Together, we can create programs that help families like yours, families who just need a little support to thrive." Emily nodded, feeling a mix of pride and purpose. "I'd love to help however I can." From that night on, Emily and Margaret worked closely together, organizing initiatives to assist struggling families. They launched mentorship programs, provided resources for single parents, and even started a fund to help cover medical expenses for those in need. For both women, it wasn't just about gratitude, it was about continuing to make a difference. Their shared values of compassion and service turned a chance encounter into a lifelong partnership. As they stood side by side at the end of the event, Watching people connect and share stories, Emily realized something profound. Her kindness hadn't just changed her own life. It had created a movement that would touch countless others. Years passed, and Emily's life flourished in ways she once thought impossible. Her promotion at work led to even greater opportunities, allowing her to mentor others and advocate for fair wages and better working conditions for cleaning staff. She became a voice for those who often went unheard, using her story to inspire change. Her family thrived too. Jake regained his strength and started volunteering at a local shelter, finding purpose in helping others. Their children excelled in school, motivated by the sacrifices their parents had made and the support they'd received. Meanwhile, Margaret remained a constant presence in Emily's life, attending events and cheering her on from afar. Together, they expanded their initiatives, reaching more families and communities than ever before. What began as a simple act of kindness on a busy road had grown into a legacy of compassion and connection. One evening, as Emily stood outside the community center they had built together, she looked up at the sign that read, "Kindness changes lives." Beneath it was a mural depicting hands reaching out to help one another, a tribute to all the lives they had touched. Margaret joined her, smiling warmly. "You've come so far, Emily. Look at everything you've accomplished." "It's because of you," Emily replied softly. "If you hadn't believed in me, none of this would have been possible." "No," Margaret countered gently. "It's because of you. You showed me what true kindness looks like. Now, look at the ripple effect. It's everywhere." Emily glanced around at the bustling center, filled with laughter, learning, and love. Families gathered for workshops, children played in the courtyard, and volunteers worked tirelessly to ensure everyone felt welcome. For Emily, this wasn't just success. It was fulfillment. She had turned her struggles into strength and her gratitude into action. And through it all, she had proven that kindness wasn't just an act. It was a way of life. As the sun set, casting golden light over the scene, Emily felt a deep sense of peace. Her journey had been long and challenging, but every step had been worth it. And so, her story became a testament to the power of kindness, a reminder that even the smallest gestures can transform lives forever. And that's the end of The Cleaner and the Billionaire. Glowing Star. We hope this heartwarming story reminded you of the incredible power of kindness, gratitude, and second chances. Emily's journey shows us that even in our hardest moments, acts of compassion can open doors we never imagined and inspire others to do the same. Now, we'd love to hear from you. What did you think of the story? Did it inspire you or make you reflect on your own experiences? Where are you watching from? Are you tuning in from the US, India, the UK, or somewhere else in the world? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear about your corner of the globe. If you enjoyed this tale of generosity and transformation, don't forget to subscribe for more stories that celebrate humanity, connection, and the beauty of making a difference. Your support means the world to us and helps us continue sharing these heartfelt narratives. Lastly, drop a comment below and share. Sparkles, what was your favorite moment in the story? Sparkles, have you ever witnessed or been part of a situation where kindness changed everything? Thank you so much for joining us on this inspiring journey with Emily and Margaret. We're grateful for your time and enthusiasm, and we can't wait to bring you more stories that uplift, inspire, and connect us all. Red Heart, until next time, stay kind, stay hopeful, and never underestimate the ripple effect of doing what's right.